Heinrich Monter was the head forester of Macclesfield Forest. He was a big man, he was a tough man, and he was a tough-minded man. You had to be a head forester. It was a royal appointment and a royal responsibility. But Heinrich Monter had a secret, and that secret lay in Lud's church. Heinrich's secret was that he had become a Lollard. Now, the Lollards in the late 14th and early 15th centuries were followers of the reformer John Wycliffe, who wanted church services to be simplified and in English and the Bible to be in English. The established church regarded the Lollards as heretics, and when Henry IV became king, he enacted a law that heretics should be burnt at the stake. Being a Lollard was dangerous for anyone, but for someone with a royal appointment like Heinrich Monter, it would be deadly. But he had a reason, and she was called Alice de Lodok. She was a lovely girl of about 18, and she was the granddaughter of Walter de Lodok, who was the leader of the local Lollards, and they held the services here. Alice sang, and her singing was beautiful. Even the rocks seemed to listen. The trees bent down to hear her. The cattle stopped grazing and lowing, and they looked and listened. One day, when Walter was conducting a service with just 14 people, Alice was singing, and Lancastrian soldiers nearby heard the cattle stop lowing and look, and the trees bend down. And then they heard very faintly in the distance that beautiful singing, and they knew where the Lollards were. Two of the soldiers were armed with an arquebus, that is the most primitive of handheld firearms, a very inaccurate weapon, but it could be deadly if it was fired into a crowd. Heinrich was guarding the entrance. And when the soldiers rushed in, crying to the Lollards, "Yield in the name of Holy Church and our Lord King Henry," Heinrich picked up the first of those soldiers and threw him into the others and forced them backwards. Heinrich had blocked the entrance. The soldiers could not get in. But one of them loaded and primed his arquebus, and he fired. The arquebus was an inaccurate weapon, but as the bang echoed throughout Lud's church, the shot missed Heinrich. Instead, it struck Alice, even as she was still singing, and killed her. When Heinrich saw what had happened, he went berserk. He lifted his sword and he slashed, and he slashed, and he slashed at the soldiers, but there were too many of them, and he was overpowered. And the Lollards were captured. The Lollards agreed to give themselves up to the soldiers in exchange for permission to bury poor dead Alice and pray over her grave. And so they did. They buried her here at the entrance to Lud's church. And an oak tree grew over her grave.